episode on the 550 carbs. We're going to bench sync today. So we're going to be setting the float heights, we're going to be setting the air mixture screws, and we're going to be setting the slide heights as well. So if you recall, these carbs have a mechanical piston slide setup, not vacuum setup like other CB carbs. So there's a mechanical so there's a way of setting these up to get them all in a good place to make a start with synchronizing them. So the final synchronization, of course, is going to happen on the motorbike with the engine running, generally with a vacuum sync, although you can do it without. It's more complicated. A vacuum sync is fairly straightforward. So that's what we're about today. We're going to synchronize or bench sync these carbs. Let's get stuck in. Okay, so the first job I want to do in this process of synchronizing these carbs, so basically there's three things that we're going to be doing. We're going to be checking the float heights, so adjusting the little tang here on the float that presses against the float needle, just checking that that's within specs according to the manual. We've then got the air mixture screw to adjust. So on this particular carb, for this particular bike, I believe the setting is 1 3/4 turns on those. On the floats, we're looking at 22mm float height, and then the last adjustment that we're going to do is actually on the slides inside the carbs, and I believe the setting is around give or take a little bit, but about 3mm. So we're going to use, I'll show you how we do that in a bit. So first we're going to start with this, and what you want to do, so I've got the carbs on the table here, and I have just propped them with some pliers here just to make sure that it's level. And you want the float to press against the needle without all of the weight of the float being on it. So I've got it slightly tipped. And the height that you want, as I say, is 22mm. So I use my digital caliper to set this height. So 22mm, and what we're measuring either side and all the way around the float. So we want both sides of the float to be around about correct. Anything around 0.5mm, you're never going to be able to adjust with the tang there. So there's an area of error, a margin of error that we can accept. Okay, so with the spring out the way, so we'll place the caliper onto the gasket face. Don't know that you can see there. I'll show you again. So press the caliper onto the gasket face at 22mm, and it depresses that float fairly considerably. So the float is sitting too low, so we need to increase the height of the float. And the way we do that, just remove the float, and with a flat screwdriver we're going to bend this small tang here. So we're going to try and do this as evenly as you can. So literally we just press that piece of brass, reinstall the float, and see if we've affected a change. Okay, we still need to do a bit more. So just trial and error, rinse and repeat. I think we're about there on this side. You can see this side is still really high, which would suggest that the whole float is bent. I'll just see if I can adjust that. This side's perfect. This side is not. A bit more. There we go, after a bit of fiddling, we are in spec. So that's that one in there. Okay, so the next step is we're now going to set the air mixture screws. So that's these ones here. So there's one here on carburettor number 1, in here for carburettor 2, and the carburettors 3 and 4 are the other way. And so I'll deal with this one first so that you can see. Basically what we're going to do is we're going to gently seat the air mixture screw. Now on these carburettors this is okay, it's not in any way going to damage the carburettors, but on some carbs the air mixture screw has a very fine needle point which goes into a hole in the car body, and if you're not careful you can get that wedged in the hole and snap it off, so you have to be quite careful. These ones it's not so bad. A flat stubby bit at the bottom of these ones and a spring. So all we're doing is we're going to seat that, so that's seated, and then we're going to back it off as per the manual 1 3/4 turns. So all I'm going to do with a Sharpie is just colour one side just to help me count. Okay, so we now go out 1 3/4 turns. It's half, 1, a half, and a quarter. Okay, and the idea is that gets us in a good place to start. Now, when I took these apart, all 4 of these carburettors were set as stock. The air mixture screws were as described in the manual. Okay, so those are the air mixture screws. I'll just work my way down and tackle those. So we are going to be adjusting the slide inside the barrel there. So we are going to be using the only information I could find online suggested an 1/8 inch drill bit, which I think translates around about to 3mm or 3.5mm in metric. So I've got my 3.5mm drill bit, which we're going to drop inside the carburettor here, underneath the slide. Okay, and then on the top side we have these adjustment screws which we put in the other day. So there's a flat head on top and an 8mm locking nut on those. So basically we just twizzle those with a flathead screwdriver until we can feel it biting against the drill bit, and then we lock it down, and we set all 4 slides to the same distance, and then that gives us a ballpark. It'll at least get the motorbike started, but it gives us a ballpark when we then adjust the carburettors for balance and synchronization on the bike. It gives us a good starting point, as does the air mixture screw setting as well. So that's what we shall do, and I'll show you how that what that looks like. Okay, so I've got my 3mm or 1/8 inch, I believe, drill bit. So I'm going to run that just underneath the slide, and you can see there's a lot of slop and a lot of slack there. We then take a screwdriver into the adjustment screw, and we slowly tighten it down until we start to feel it bite. Okay, and then that one is adjusted. What we want to do is we want to hold that steady whilst we tighten up this lock nut. Okay, and then recheck our setting. I think I've lifted it a bit, so just loosen it off. There we go. Tighten it back up. That's number 1 set. Let's see if I can show you again with number 3. Now if I just twizzle the adjustment screw, hopefully down in the barrel there, we might see it moving up and down. Okay, maybe not. Anyway, so what we're going to do, we're going to take that drill bit, and you can see this one's too low anyway. You can get that drill bit started. So there we are, in it goes. Bit of slop and slack. Okay, it's just starting to bite there. Bit of resistance there on the drill bit. So same process on this side. We'll hold it still with the screwdriver and lock it down with the spanner. And then we repeat the process with number 1 and 2. Okay, and that's basically it for a bench synchronization. So we tackle the air mixture screws, getting them to a baseline. We set the float heights so that the floats are letting the correct amount of fuel in, not overflowing, etc. And then we do the throttle slides. Okay, and that essentially is the bench synchronization, and particularly with the throttle slides. So we're getting all 4 carburetors opening at exactly the same rate on the bench, so the same distance, the same gap underneath each of the 4 slides. So the last thing I'll do before I chuck them on a bike is pour some fuel down the fuel lines and check for leaks. So basically I want to check that the gaskets are seating properly and the fuel's not overflowing, so the float height is accurate. And at that point we might need to do some minor tweaks and adjustments with the individual floats, just to make sure that each individual float bowl is holding the correct amount of fuel. Anyway, just a short one. So if you found that useful or helpful in any way, please give me a big thumbs up, leave a comment or consider subscribing, and I'll catch you next time. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.